Do you hate your enemies? In life, no one is exempt from difficulties, challenges, or tense relationships. Sometimes we feel hurt by the actions or words of others. But in such moments, Jesus taught us something important. Forgive your enemies. This is a difficult command, but it is also the only path to peace and reconciliation. Jesus teaches us to forgive our enemies, the path to peace and mercy. Forgiveness, the path to inner peace. When we are hurt, it is easy to fall into anger, resentment, and a desire for revenge. But revenge never brings freedom. In fact, it only burdens our soul and takes away the peace we once had. Jesus teaches that only love can erase hatred. He not only taught forgiveness, but also practiced it in his own life. When he was crucified, he still asked God the Father to forgive those who harmed him. This is a clear testament to the power of forgiveness. Example, a person is pressured by their boss and their efforts are not recognized. Instead of continuing to feel angry and retaliating by not completing their work, this person decides to view the situation differently. Rather than holding on to their anger, they choose to forgive and work with patience and love. Gradually, this change in attitude not only helps them maintain inner peace, but also causes those around them to change their perception. Forgiveness, making us stronger. Jesus does not teach forgiveness as an obligation. He shows us that it is a powerful choice. Forgiveness does not mean accepting wrongdoing or bad actions from others, but it means choosing not to let resentment dominate our hearts. We choose to let go of pain and anger, freeing our souls to move forward on a path of growth and love. Example, a longtime friend betrays your trust, causing deep hurt. You can choose to cut off the relationship, or you can choose to forgive, not allowing the negative emotions to drag on in your heart. Forgiveness not only heals that relationship, but also frees you from the mental burdens it brings. Forgiveness, bringing peace to the forefront. When we forgive our enemies, we not only reconcile with them, but also create peace within our own hearts. Forgiveness is the key to opening new doors, allowing us to live in peace without being swept away by anger and hatred. Jesus teaches us not only to love our friends, but also to love our enemies, because only then can true peace emerge. Example, two friends once had a major disagreement, each having reasons to be upset, but instead of continuing to distance themselves and harbor resentment, one of them decides to meet the other, apologize for the words and actions of the past. This act not only improves their relationship, but also opens a space of peace for both of them. Forgiveness, the path that brings us closer to God. When we forgive others, we are also drawing closer to God. Jesus taught us, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Forgiveness is a way to express God's love, helping us to become more like Him. When we forgive others, God's forgiveness is poured out on us, allowing us to experience peace and blessings in our lives. Example, a person feels like their life cannot change because of the deep wounds from the past. However, when they decide to pray and forgive those who have hurt them, their life begins to change. They experience inner peace, and their relationship with God becomes more intimate. Forgiveness to receive peace. Forgiveness is not easy, but it is the path to true peace. Jesus taught us that only love can heal the wounds of the heart. Forgiveness not only helps us erase hatred, but also opens our hearts to receive the peace that God wants to give us. Every time we choose to forgive, we not only free ourselves from mental burdens, but also become an instrument of peace in this world. Remember that no matter what difficulties we face, God's love and forgiveness will always be by our side, guiding us on the path of peace and happiness. Witnessing faith through life, living love and mercy. As Christians, our lives are not just about participating in religious ceremonies. They are a living testimony of the faith we have chosen. Every day, every moment in our daily lives is an opportunity for us to reflect the love and mercy of Christ through our actions, words, and small but meaningful gestures. Christ's love and mercy in daily life. When Christ calls us to be messengers of peace, justice, and joy in this world, He does not ask us to do grand things or make eloquent declarations of faith. In fact, Christ teaches us that the most important thing is to live our faith sincerely in every small action every day. We do not need to search for grand opportunities to witness to Him. We only need to live with an open heart, ready to help those around us. Example: a colleague is facing difficulties at work. Instead of just standing by, we can approach them, listen, and encourage them with sincere words. These simple words of encouragement not only help them overcome difficulties, but also reflect the love Christ teaches us. This is how we live our faith, not through showy gestures, but by offering comfort and hope to those around us. Humility, the key to living faith. Witnessing for Christ is not always easy, especially when we face challenges, injustice, and difficulties in life. However, in such moments, humility, calmness, and willingness to help will be the key to living our faith strongly. St. Francis of Assisi once said, "Preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words." This reminder speaks not only about using words to share our faith, but also about living it through our actions, attitudes, and service every day. Example: in a workplace conflict, instead of responding with anger or harsh words, we can choose to stay calm, listen, and resolve the issue with gentleness. It is in such moments that humility helps us reflect the image of Christ, who was always ready to forgive and reconcile. Witness through small actions. Witnessing for Christ does not necessarily require grand actions. On the contrary, it is the small, simple actions in our daily lives that are the most powerful testimony of our faith. A sincere greeting, an act of help without expecting anything in return, or an encouraging word can change someone's day. These actions may not be immediately noticed, but they reflect genuine faith and a life deeply connected to God. Example: when we are waiting for the bus and see an elderly person struggling to walk, instead of just standing by, we can approach them and offer help. This action may not seem extraordinary, but it carries the imprint of love and mercy that Christ has taught. This is the testimony of faith through the small actions we perform every day. Living as a witness of Christ. Being a witness for Christ is not something distant or difficult. In fact, every action we take, every kind gesture, every loving word is how we live our faith in our daily lives. We do not need to make large changes in the world, but it is through the small and simple actions that Christ's love will be clearly reflected. We will become an inspiration to those around us, who will turn to God through our testimonies of love and service. Example: in a challenging situation, when faced with injustice or seeing someone in difficulty, instead of turning away, we can choose to stop, listen, and help. It is in these difficult moments that our faith will be illuminated and reflected through how we face the challenges of life. Living the faith is living love. Bearing witness to Christ is not about doing grand or showy things, but rather about the small actions we perform every day. Christ taught us that love and mercy are the keys to changing the world. Let us live our faith authentically through small but meaningful actions. Through these actions, we bear witness to the infinite love that Christ has for all of us. With faith and love, every Christian can become a powerful witness, bringing peace and hope to the world. And through that, we will also find peace in our own hearts, knowing that we are living according to the example of Christ. Loving others, the key to living faith and love. Loving others is not just one of the profound teachings that Christ left us, but it is also a living invitation for us to manifest our faith in everyday life. Christ not only taught us to love through words, but also through concrete and sincere actions. Truly loving others is not about becoming a perfect person, but being willing to express love through small gestures that can bring great change to another person's heart. Love is an action. Love is not just an emotion that exists in the mind. It must be expressed through action. Acts of love can be small, but they can bring great joy to the person receiving them. Sometimes, love doesn't require expensive gifts or grand gestures. It's the attention and understanding shown when someone needs it the most. A word of encouragement, a smile, or a simple gesture can change someone's day. For example, when you see a friend or colleague facing difficulties, instead of just standing by, approach them, ask how they're doing, and listen to their concerns. A gentle word of comfort or encouragement can help them feel lighter. You don't need to do anything huge, but that small action is a demonstration of love and sincere care. Spiritual concern. Sometimes loving others is not about providing material help, but offering spiritual care. Every day, we can be a great source of encouragement for those around us, especially when they are facing emotional or mental struggles. Instead of just looking at what they can do, try to see what they are going through and open your heart to share in their burden. Sometimes, all someone needs is a listening ear, someone to understand their pain, and it can make a world of difference. For example, a friend of yours may be enduring deep psychological pain. They don't need grand advice, but your presence. You don't have to have solutions. Just sitting beside them, listening, and sharing their emotions can be the love they need. Sharing what we have love also shows itself in sharing what we have, whether material or spiritual. Sharing is not just about giving away what we have in abundance, but sometimes it's about giving someone what we need ourselves. It could be time, care, or a sincere piece of advice. Love means not thinking of oneself, but putting the needs of others first. For example, if you have extra food for the day, instead of letting it go to waste, you can share it with someone who needs it. A small gift can not only make the receiver feel loved, but also serve as a clear demonstration that you are living your faith every day. When we share, whether it's material or emotional, we are truly doing good for God, for He is always present in each loving act. Love makes everything great. When we love, we're not just loving the person, but we're doing it for God. Christ taught us that when we do good for others, we are also doing it for Him. Every act of love is a way to honor God in our everyday life. It's not grand actions that matter, but simple, silent gestures full of love that speak volumes about our faith and love for God. For example, when you help the poor, you may not receive anything in return from them. But in God's eyes, that act is priceless. It's not just material help. It's the greatest act of love we can offer Him. Doing such acts daily is how we live according to Christ's example and reflect His love to the world. Loving others as a witness to faith. Loving others is not something we do out of obligation. It's an opportunity for us to live our faith fully. Each act of love is a living testimony to the love of Christ, and through these actions, we reflect God's unconditional love to everyone. By loving, we become messengers of peace, joy, and empathy. Love is an essential part of life, and every day we can perform small but meaningful actions to spread love. All we need to do is open our hearts, be willing to help, and care for others, and we will see that our own lives become more beautiful, filled with love and peace that God has given us. Doing good to our enemies and loving them. Doing good for our enemies and loving them is no small challenge, but it is also a profound lesson that every Christian is called to live. When Christ teaches us to love our enemies, He is not only giving us a command, but also showing how love can overcome pain and conflict in life. Loving our enemies is not just about forgiveness, but also patience and compassion without calculation. Christ set the perfect example by not only forgiving those who tortured Him, but also asking God to forgive them. This is the strongest testimony of the unconditional love God has for all, even those who have wronged Him. Doing good for our enemies doesn't always lead to immediate change, but through these small actions we can sow the seeds of reconciliation. For example, when encountering someone hostile toward us, instead of responding with hostility, we can choose to remain calm, listen, and show empathy. A sincere apology or a simple act of kindness can make that person feel a shift in the way they are treated, which may gradually open the door for their hearts to change. However, it's important not to expect immediate change. Change and forgiveness are processes, and only when we are patient and persistent will someone else's heart begin to change. Why we should not judge others. This is one of the most important teachings that Christ wants us to remember. He said in the Gospel, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged." 1. When we judge others, we often rely on external actions, but what we see is only the surface and cannot reflect the deep truth in a person's heart. Every person has their own story and circumstances, and only God knows the truth within them. Judging others only creates division and prevents us from understanding the difficulties others may be facing. Judging others based on their external actions can easily lead to wrong conclusions, because actions are just outward expressions and cannot fully reflect the true motivations or emotions of that person. We cannot know all the pain or struggles others are going through, so judging is unfair. A good example is when someone's actions or words offend us. Instead of immediately thinking that person is bad or evil, we can try to understand the reasons behind their actions. They may be enduring great pain that we can't see. A little empathy, listening, and sharing can help turn the situation around positively and help us view others with a more compassionate eye. Living without judgment. Therefore, instead of judging others, Christ calls us to live with acceptance and love. He teaches that only God is the judge, and He will judge us justly, never lacking in fairness. When we stop judging, we not only help ourselves, but also contribute to building a community full of love and peace. When we don't judge others, we learn how to love without discrimination, seeing everyone as children of God and working together to create a better world. Love and forgiveness are values that Christ wants us to live and practice every day. When we love our enemies and stop judging, we reflect God's love, an unconditional and infinite love. By living according to these teachings, we not only set an example for others, but also find peace and joy in our own lives. Prayer. Lord Jesus, grant me a heart that is open, a soul filled with generosity and love. Help me to be quick to sympathize instead of holding on to grudges, to forgive instead of condemn, to love instead of hate, and to always be a light of hope for those lost in despair. Help me to become a living witness to your love, even in the midst of suffering, shame, or challenges. Though life is filled with difficulties, I will walk in peace, knowing that, no matter what changes, your love is the eternal strength that guides me. Jesus Christ, the great spiritual leader, not only taught about love, but also lived it fully. He loved those around him, from friends to enemies. One of his most prominent messages is, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." This is not merely a piece of advice, but a profound invitation for us to open our hearts, overcome hatred, and find peace within ourselves. Loving our enemies does not mean accepting their wrong actions. In reality, it is a journey of freeing ourselves from negative emotions. When we hold on to resentment and anger, we trap ourselves in a cycle where these feelings dominate our lives. Conversely, if we can truly forgive, we will experience relief, freedom, and peace. Love and forgiveness stem from a place of compassion. An open heart has the ability to reach those we least expect. This is not always easy, but it is the path that leads to spiritual growth. Imagine a wide open embrace, encompassing everyone around you, from loved ones to foes. When we can do this, we are no longer alone, but become part of a larger community. Forgiveness is a continuous journey. Sometimes this process requires time and patience. No one can change the past, but we can choose how to face it. Let your heart be at peace as you release the pain. When we truly forgive, we not only free ourselves, but also open the door to love and joy. Everyday life is full of situations that can frustrate or upset us. Instead of allowing these things to overwhelm us, let us remember the teachings of God. A smile or a kind word can be enough to soothe conflicts. Change begins with ourselves, starting from the smallest details of life. Each of us can become a beacon of light for those around us by living according to the values that God teaches. When we practice love and forgiveness, not only does our own life become more beautiful, but we also create a positive impact on those around us. This is the power of love. It can spread and transform the world. Finally, remember that love and forgiveness are not easy, but they are precious gifts that God gives to each of us. By living according to these values, we will find peace in our souls, regardless of the challenges life may bring. Open your heart and let God's love guide you on a path filled with light and hope. Every day is a new opportunity to love and forgive. Let your heart be a warm flame, illuminating your life and the lives of those around you. Only then can we truly live fully and happily. Let God's love be your guiding star, helping you overcome all challenges and spreading the light of love to everyone. Jesus, you loved unconditionally, even when betrayed and in pain. You forgave and asked the Father to forgive those who harmed you. The command to love our enemies is indeed a great challenge, but from it you opened a new path for us, the path of unconditional love, the path of unity and peace. Only love can erase hatred. Only love can bring true peace. I offer to you all the difficulties and challenges of my life, asking that I may overcome them to become someone who brings your love to this world. Lord, grant me the strength to love, even when I am hurt, to forgive, even when I feel pain, and when I feel weak, may you support me so I may always trust the path you have set before me. I offer myself entirely to you, Lord, and pray that I may walk in your love. Amen.